Hello everyone, welcome back to my Divine Breath Healing YouTube channel. It's been a while. I have decided to kind of take a new approach to this channel. I was finding that the videos that I was making, or the way in which I was making them, was a little bit too labor intensive, unintuitive, just not enjoyable. And I was kind of finding that by the time I was done with videos, I didn't even like them anymore. They felt just really kind of disjointed and disconnected, and the video was recorded separately from the audio, and then the music was added, and then it just didn't feel right. So I've now got this little mic here, which is I'm hoping will prove to be more intuitive and streamlined in terms of just making and creating and sharing videos. And I'm going to start from today making videos about the Law of One. And then after each of the videos, I will do a breathwork guided meditation related to whatever is talked about from the Law of One. The Law of One is, for me, it's had the most impact in terms of my self-development, my growth, if you want to call it a spiritual journey or whatever, just in terms of becoming more aware of myself, more balanced, more aware of my distortions and blockages in my mind and my body and my spirit, and just learning to balance myself. Nothing has had the impact that the Law of One has had on me. And so I feel grateful to have the opportunity to share it, and I feel very happy to share it. And I also feel a responsibility to share it in a way that feels right for me. There's lots of good stuff on YouTube for the Law of One, especially if you're interested more in this stuff. Scott Mandelker, Mandelker, he's probably done the best job of interpreting the Law of One in an easy to understand way, even though we're dealing with really heavy spiritual philosophy. When we dig into the Law of One, it's very, very dense. And so today, I just want to give an introduction to the Law of One, and I've got some notes on my computer. I'm just going to read them, and I'll share some quotes as I feel it's time to share them. So what is the Law of One? The Law of One, otherwise known as the raw material, is a series of channeled question and answer sessions between a group of 3 people and a extraterrestrial being that called itself Ra. So the 3 people involved are Don Elkins, Carla Ruckert, and Jim McCarty. So Don was the leader of the group, and he was a professor of physics and a UFO researcher for many, many, many years. Carla was the channel who Ra spoke through, and Jim McCarty was the scribe. He transcribed all of the sessions, all of Don's questions, all of Ra's answers, and it covers a very, very wide range of topics, from UFO stuff to the pyramids to the history of Earth, which is all very interesting. But the thing that I have taken the most from the Law of One is self-healing, tools for self-healing, tools for self-transformation, what it means to heal the self, what it means to be a healer, doing healing work myself. I was very lucky to have a good teacher early on who I learned some of the aspects of the Law of One from, even though she wasn't really conscious. She wasn't aware of the books or the material. It is perhaps it offers the most profound truths regarding healing and what the journey of life as a human being is and what we're meant to be doing here. It's really given purpose to my life. It's given me a structure within which I can learn and change and grow, always keeping, the highest intentions possible. So it ended up being 106 sessions that were recorded between Don, Carla, Jim, and Ra. And these were all done in question and answer format. And they ended up being published across 4 books, 4 series of books. It was The Law of One, Book 1, 2, 3, and 4. The full title of the books is The Law of One by Ra, a humble messenger of the Law of One. Later, a 5th book was produced, and that contained personal material personal questions from the group about themselves that they felt didn't need to be included because it was just personal to them. But in addition to that, the fifth book also has some notes from Carla and Jim, just sharing what it was like to be a part of the experience and the wisdom they gleaned from being a part of this contact. So Don had been a paranormal / UFO researcher for about 30 years. And he also had experimented with telepathic communication and channeling for about 19 years before the raw contact began. So Carla met Don in 1962 and joining one of his channeling groups. And she began to participate more and more as the years went on. And for many years before the raw contact, they channeled many beings, entities, from a group that called itself the Confederation of Planets in Service to the One Creator. So these are beings from higher dimensions that are attempting to communicate messages of healing, truth, how to evolve to humanity. And there's really beautiful stuff in there. You can find all of the transcriptions of all of their channeled groups going back to, I believe, like the early 70s on llresearch.org, llresearch.org. I'll put it in the video here so you can see it. And I highly recommend reading some of that in addition to the Law of One as well. So eventually, as their channeling techniques and ability increased, and as Jim joined the group, the raw contact came through. And Ra made it very clear that it was the three of them, Don, Carla, and Jim. Their combined energy is what allowed the communication to take place. And to my knowledge, it's never been reproduced. I think there's some people on YouTube who have claimed to channel Ra, but I haven't seen any material that even comes close to matching the profundity and the depth and the just subtle, deep truths that Ra is able to contain in sometimes just a single sentence. This is pretty dense material, and so I feel now I have a very decent, I shouldn't even say very, I have a decent understanding of it, and I will certainly share my experiences and how it's helped me, release what's needed to be released, and to take on the kinds of perceptions that allow the energy body, what we would call the chakras, to become more balanced, more open, and my awareness has just expanded as a result of this material. So I feel compelled and obligated and a sense of responsibility in sharing it. So that's what I'm doing here. So there's a full, if you go to www.lawofone.info, it literally has all 106 sessions available that you can read for free. And I definitely recommend doing that. However, before the sessions start, there's an introduction. It's quite long, but if you're interested in the historical context of the group, I recommend going to read that whole thing. It's very fascinating and enlightening, and it just shows the level of kind of dedication. And it also, it helps you understand Don's original intention a little bit more, as they were trying to research this kind of telepathic communication. So the raw contact utilized a form of channeling, which Don called tuned trance telepathy. And this involved Carla lying on a bed or some kind of massage table, and she would go into a trance state, essentially asleep, and Ra would speak through her. So she would come out of the sessions not remembering or not even knowing what her voice had been speaking. So typically in channeling, the person is, awake. If you've ever watched like Bashar or someone like this, they're physically animated and moving around. But Carla was completely in a trance and completely unaware of what was happening. And then Jim would sit and he would write down the questions and the answers. You can also, on the lawofone.info site, listen to the audio of the recordings, and it's pretty fascinating. Ra speaks incredibly slowly through Carla, and you kind of get a sense that they're speaking through her from a place that's very, very far removed from the 3D physical planet that we're on right now. Okay, so now that we have some historical understanding of the group itself and the books that were created, what's in the books? What is the law of one? So the law of one states simply that all things are one. Everything in the physical manifest universe is an individualized portion of what Ra calls the one infinite creator. Ra also calls the one infinite creator intelligent infinity or infinite intelligence. And so at this point, I think we'll start with the quotes directly from the material. The way that I've decided to do this is to give quotes related to each topic directly from the material, because I think it's best for people to see and hear Ra's words directly from them. I've made some minor changes to the wording just for ease of readability and understanding, but I've done my very best to keep the core essence of each message intact. And when I feel it's necessary, or when I want to, I suppose, I'll provide my own sort of context or understanding of what's being said. Good. Okay, so the first quote we have here, it will be on the screen. I am Ra. The law of one, though beyond the limitations of name, as you call vibratory sound complexes, may be approximated by stating that all things are one, that there is no polarity, no right or wrong, no disharmony, but only identity. All is one, and that one is love light, light love, the infinite creator. So something interesting to note right away, Ra makes it pretty clear that the law of one is beyond the limitation of names or words. The true understanding, complete apprehension of this concept is beyond our grasp. You can't talk about it. It's unexplainable, at least from the human mind. So I thought that was interesting. So Ra says it's impossible to describe intelligent infinity accurately, but that the energy can be activated and potentiated. And this will move us to the next quote. By the way, after each quote here, you'll see in parentheses a number, a decimal point, and then another number. The first number indicates which session that quote came from. The second number indicates which question and answer within that session we're quoting. So this really helps. And if you check in the description of this video, I will provide a link to the Google Doc that I've used as a sort of, I'm not going to call it a script, but it's just everything that I'm talking about in order here. And I've been as careful as I can to remember to put all of the session number and then question and answer number after each quote, so you can go look at it yourself. Good. So Ra says it's impossible to describe intelligent infinity, but that it can be activated or potentiated. The one undifferentiated intelligent infinity, unpolarized, full and whole, is the macrocosm of the mystery-clad being. We are messengers of the law of one. Unity, at this approximation of understanding, cannot be specified by any physics, but can only be activated or potentiated intelligent infinity due to the catalyst of free will. This may be difficult to accept. However, the understandings we have to share begin and end in mystery. So the intelligent infinity, from this comes all things. We'll find out in a little bit that free will is the first law within the law of one. So the one infinite creator has had free will to explore itself as it pleases, as it feels, as it desires. So that's what they're talking about here. It can only be activated or potentiated due to the catalyst of free will. Each individualized portion of the creation contains paradoxically the whole, which is what I said earlier. Every individualized portion of consciousness in the physical universe contains inside of it the energy, the power, the original energy of the one infinite creator. I am Ra. Ra says, I am Ra. It shall be understood that any portion, no matter how small, of any density or illusory pattern contains, as in a holographic nature, the one creator which is infinity. Thus all begins and ends in mystery. So they make this pretty clear early on here. Session 13, session 28, out of 106. I've already said twice now, everything that we have to share begins and ends in mystery. So you're not going to be able to fully understand it, but there is so much in here that we can understand and that we can utilize to improve the quality of ourselves, our minds, our emotions, our bodies, our spirit, and then hopefully from that, the cup overfloweth, and we're able to share it with others. Good. So this is actually, the next quote is from the very first session, the very first time that they made contact with Ra. Ra says, "I am Ra. Consider, if you will, that the universe is infinite. This has yet to be proven or disproven, but we can assure you that there is no end to yourselves, your understanding, what you would call your journey of seeking, or your perceptions of the creation. That which is infinite cannot be many, for manyness is a finite concept. To have infinity, you must identify or define that infinity as unity. Otherwise, the term does not have any referent or meaning. In an infinite creator, there is only unity. You have seen simple examples of unity. You have seen the prism which shows all colors stemming from the sunlight. This is a simplistic example of unity. In truth, there is no right or wrong. There is no polarity, for all will be, as you would say, reconciled at some point in your dance through the mind-body-spirit complex, which you amuse yourself by distorting in various ways at this time. This distortion is not in any case necessary. It is chosen by each of you as an alternative to understanding the complete unity of thought which binds all things. You are not speaking of similar or somewhat like entities or things. You are everything, every being, every emotion, every event, every situation. You are unity. You are infinity. You are love light. You are light love. You are. This is the law of one."
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
So that's pretty heavy. And we'll find later, especially when we get into the energy centers and the chakras, that the heart chakra is required to fully comprehend the law of one in a positive fashion. And the heart chakra is about universal love, having compassion for all things, understanding, acceptance. These qualities emanate from the heart. And so this is what Ra is saying here. This is difficult for me to read at first, because it's like, I'm not every emotion. I'm not every event. I'm not every situation. I'm not a rapist. I'm not a murderer. I'm not a drug dealer. I'm not this and that. But what Ra is saying is, you could be all of those things. We as human beings have the potential for the most vibrant, blinding light and the deepest darkness that exists inside of every human being. And I think to pretend that it doesn't is to, it means that we're hiding some aspect of ourselves, first from ourselves and then from others. And that's what I've come to really learn in the last, I would say, 5 years or so, especially since I've had children. The healing has intensified, and the negativity and the selfishness that I was displaying and feeling really came to the fore. So that's just been my experience. But the ability to accept all of our emotions and to accept all of our intentions, motivations, desires, thoughts, this is difficult work, very difficult work, because it requires us to be fully transparent and honest with ourselves, which is something that I think most people are not very good at and don't really desire to do. It's much easier to just put on the mask and pretend that we're this or we're that, and then we can convince ourselves that we're good people, and then we don't have to look at all of the negativity that on some level we know is lurking within. Good. Okay, so now why would I care? Why would I care about the law of one? Why would I care about learning about this stuff? Well, chances are, if you're watching this, you're already interested in spirituality, the sort of mystery of life, the mystery of beingness. And I've found that the law of one, it actually gave meaning and purpose to my life. It helped me to understand the blueprint through which I am moving in order to grow and learn and evolve in any way that I choose. Okay, so why would I care? Why would I care about the law of one? Why would I want to learn about it? Well, the law of one helps you understand the game of life. It helps you understand what you're doing here. As you read, as you study the material, it becomes very clear that there is an evolutionary process meant to take place for us as humans, as third dimensional, or let's say third density physical beings. The destination is already planned for us. Now, how we go about getting to that destination is completely up to us. We have free will. And so it helps you to make better choices in your daily life, and it adds context to those choices, and it gives you an understanding of why you might want to make one choice over another. Beyond that, it helps you to understand yourself better. Once we get into the energy centers and the self-healing techniques, if you have the wherewithal and the courage to be honest with yourself and to go inside of yourself, you can release so many old let's say, distortions of perception that are keeping you sort of unhappy or confused or sad or angry. We're meant to evolve here on earth in mind and body and spirit. And the Law of One gives a very solid blueprint for how you can go about doing that. So I think that's it for this video. We've gone over the history of the teachings, the basic tenet of the Law of One, which simply states that all things are one. We all come from one source. We're all on our way back to this one source. And every one of us, every single thing that we can see at its core has the energy of the infinite, the one infinite creator or intelligent infinity residing inside of it. And, let's say an enlightened being here on earth, of which there have been very few, they understand this completely, and they are full of this undistorted, intelligent infinity, and they live in such a way that allows them to express that, and it can be seen and felt by everyone. So okay, thanks. I'll be back for the next one.